So basically, Apurva made the Ganeshi Aurat thing her brand, and that's not a bad thing. She's a good storyteller, and that's basically how she's gained most of her original following. You know, the kind of people who get way too obsessed with the person the first time they meet them, and then eventually everything is about that person for some time. She's kind of like that, and like every 20 something girl, I think she's also a hopeless romantic. Very smart though, very good at what she does. So she dates a normal amount, I guess, but she was never really public about any of her boyfriends except when this Utsav came around. She was in love and she was obsessed, and everything was great. He was a great guy. They looked good as a pair and everything. Utsav also has a public profile where he mostly posted music, so I guess he didn't really have a problem with being in her content. This is all happening last year, and this is more or less her own view about him at the time. Around the same time that year, she also became friends with Rida Tharana, and Rida seems like a proper girl's girl, so she was happy to give her attention and shower her with love whenever she could. They were both on each other's profiles a lot around that time, and the friendship seemed pretty genuine too at the time, and like both of their fans were like best friends ever. This is what female friendship should look like, and good vibes overall. Now, Apurva, Utsav, and Vida went on a trip to Thailand together, and Apurva made a mini series out of it, and it did like way too good. I think better than most of her other content. And then, after like 4 or 5 episodes, she stopped the series and she told everyone that Utsav and her broke up, so she won't be continuing it since it was him in all the episodes. Understandable. But it was never clarified what exactly went down, and honestly, no one needs to know either. But like the curiosity was killing people, and there were a lot of theories. Regardless, people moved on. She didn't exactly, because although she didn't name him, but in interviews or podcasts or even on her own channel, she continued to talk about him and not exactly in a good light. People started assuming Ulsaf did something bad and that's why they broke up. She went on to turn her breakup into content too, with her Sadie to Baddie series, like I said, good at what she does. Meanwhile, Rida and her became more close friends for some time, but then they became busy in their own life, but still they popped up every now and then. They hosted an award show together, if I remember correctly. All that stuff, but I think now the obsession phase was over. Then Rida and Apurva decided to go on a Europe trip together, like London and Amsterdam. Again, fun content and all that. But like they met less frequently after that for whatever reasons. And then the latent controversy happened, right? So Apurva received a lot of backlash and hate and threats and everything. Not a great time, obviously, so she more or less disappeared from social media for a couple of months. Now, during that time, Apurva's fans started snubbing at people she was friends with who didn't show her their very open and public support and call them names and everything. Rida came under that radar too because it is weird that you call someone your close friend, but when they are actually going through a bad time, you just leave. So a lot of hate was also directed towards her. Obviously, she never explained either. I saw a video where the theory was although they were friends, Rita distanced herself during that time because it would have affected her work, which was like hers and her family's only source of income, more or less. So it makes sense, and also that she has been earlier sacrificed in the name of friendship, so she didn't want that either. But like, it still doesn't make sense to not support a friend in any way in such a difficult time, right? Unless the friendship was barely there. No one knows for sure. When the hate got too much, Apurva posted a story about how Rida was a nice person and asked people to not bully her. So it died down a bit after that. And then, like, I think the first time they were seen in the same room was in a Netflix event in Australia that recently happened, so we still don't know what happened there. But let's take a reroute. So, just before Latent, Apurva had finished filming the Traitor show, and there she became friends with Sufi Motewala, the guy who comments on everyone's fashion with an accent. Again, like any decent friend, Sufi supported her throughout that whole ordeal. They went on a trip together with a few of her other close friends, and like it seemed to be going well until this said Netflix event. So last day of the 3-4 day event, and this guy Utsaf comes back from the dead with a song where he never takes her name, but it's so clear it's about her, and the gist of it is that he implied that she cheated on him, tried to get back together around Valentine's, and then proceeded to drag his image through the mud. And that reel just exploded everywhere. A few hours later, Sufi posts a story basically saying that he is no longer friends with Apurva because even after everything, when her fans started to bully him for using her for clout and seeing the issue, she did nothing to address it. Now, the bullying increased during this Netflix event because Sophie was also there, and even though people still assumed he was friends with Apurva, not once was he seen hanging out with her, but instead he was mostly hanging out with Rida. Her fans didn't like it. And also during the Netflix event, Apurva was seen wearing a Back from the Dead skirt. And on the same day, Utsav uploaded that reel. So, was this just a mere coincidence or a proper planning done by both of them to get attention respectively? As before this, Utsav only got around 100k to 200k views, but this reel crossed 18 million plus views. And on the other hand, Apurva's show is coming soon on Jio Hotstar, so being on the headlines can be better for both of their careers. Do let me know your opinions in the comment section.